we see our customers using our agents in very, very interesting ways. So for instance, what we realize more and more is that they treat our agents as extra team members. So they think about agents as really a way for them to become their own mini CFOs of their team. So think about it as really like using the agent. For instance, at Carta, this is what we do. They can automate full workflows of like budget variance analysis, automating workflows around top line analysis, etc., and helping them do things they were not even able to do before, because they can do a lot more now that they have these extra team members.
What we find really exciting is when customers ask questions that like no one's asked before. And typically it would have taken them like a month or two to answer those questions and go through tons and tons of data manually. But AI is able to put superhuman like brain power against it and answer it much faster. So that's one. And then the other is we have this agent that looks through all your ads that you've ever run, watches all the videos, looks at all the images, and then gives you feedback on whether those ads are good or bad and why. And the why part is really interesting. So you'll see, for example, a large fried chicken fast food chain. They'll do this analysis on all their advertising, and they'll get really nuanced explanations of how to make their ads better and improve conversion rate and click-through rate based on a human type understanding of what makes the ad good versus just data.
I think probably the most interesting thing is people do work, like data work, very differently using AI versus sort of historically what they've done. So the example that we cite all the time is when a user goes and asks for a data point, they're usually going to go pull back a couple things. Like if you want to go find the last company that you all invested in, you'd get a name out. But the interesting thing that AI can do, like thinking about OpenAI or just sort of any of the natural language engines, is they can sort of synthesize. And so they can pull back much, much more data and sort of give you a more synthesized response than classically a person would have. So we see people doing these sorts of tasks where they'll ask for information about a customer, and instead of running one query, an AI can go run 50 or 100, or I mean, that's probably too many, but they can go run a bunch of queries, and then they can actually synthesize and say, this person is doing all of these sorts of tasks. They like red but not blue. Like they stopped buying 2 weeks ago, in a way that would be really, really difficult for a person to go do on their own. So it's just sort of the querying patterns change in terms of how people use data sort of via an LLM.